Well folks, it is the end of day 5 here, which would be technically the 4th full day. I completely neglected to film an intro this morning. The body's just tired, needs some extra sleep, and quite honestly the early morning stuff hasn't been that great this year. More mid-morning's been better for me. So we're gonna do things a little different on this one. I'm actually gonna kind of story tell you through the day. So got up late and went out fishing right away, kind of once I got my feet under me and got gear ready and all the camera gear ready and got the cooler packed and all of that important stuff. A little bit of a later start, but on the first spot, it's kind of a community spot, and it's one that, you know, produces a fish here and there, but it gets a lot of pressure. So usually I hit it once or twice a trip and kind of leave it be outside of that, but I decided to hit it this morning. Woke up and we had a little bit of wind coming in from the south, and instantly my mind goes to, I got to get on some rocks. I believe the best time to target cabbage beds on the Canadian Shield is when there's very, very little wind. And the reason for that is when there's a lot of wind current in the water, it actually pushes those cabbage stalks over, and it leads to poor and just unpredictable cover for the muskies. So when it's calm, you target cabbage. And you'll always hear people that will say, when it's windy, hit the rocks. The reason for that is cabbage spots aren't as good, right? The fish push out of the cabbage, they move to the adjacent rock areas, rock points, reefs, whatever the case may be, where that wind current is pushing bait fish in, which then pushes the bigger bait fish in, perch, walleyes, all of those things, right? Those stunted bait fish are bouncing off the rocks, and it brings the whole food chain in there, including muskies. And after 4 days of just flat, calm bluebird with very little wind, I knew that as soon as the wind was hitting those rocks, the fish would push onto it. So I went out and hit the spot, and this is what happened. Got her. Stay pinned. Okay. Over the net. Stay pinned. Okay. Easy, girl. Oh, this is always the worst part. I got her. Oh man. Yes. All right. Where is she? Try and get this bait out here. So, what I did here, because we have some wind today, is I actually upsized my blade presentation. So I parked the Huntsy tail and upsized here to a Musky Frenzy 8/9 stagger. Natural colors on Shield Lakes are great. Walleye pattern, always good, especially around rocks like this, but she was sitting right where she should be. You can see here on the graph, this point extends out, and generally when the wind's blowing in, we kind of have a south wind today, pushes against these rocks, and it pushes bait up against this really shallow rock right here. So when I cast it out here, ran it parallel by it, and she was sitting right there, followed me in, and I almost didn't think she was gonna play with me. She almost got it in the first turn, but speed's been the ticket. You speed it up through the 8 and they'll eat. Musky Frenzy, stagger 8/9 gets it done, yes! Okay guys, you just saw us catch another fish on blades. When the wind starts moving, especially after a few days of flat, calm conditions, you gotta get on the rocks. You gotta throw blades over the top of them, and if I had another person in the boat, I'd probably be throwing a Suick in the back or a crankbait, something that bangs against those rocks and pulls those fish off and imitates either a fleeing bait fish off the rocks or a stunted bait fish, because when the wind's pushing really hard into rocks, it'll push bait fish against there and stun those smaller bait fish, and that's why the muskies move in there to feed on that stuff, because it's an easy prey target. So I'm not gonna bump this fish. She's probably 40 inches, a little smaller than the rest of them, but she wanted to play, which is always appreciated, especially after a tough day yesterday. So pull her out, show her to you. We're gonna get her back, and we're gonna keep hitting wind blowing rocks here today, and hopefully that's the ticket. And if the wind dies down later, we're gonna target some more trophy water. So pull her out here quick, and then we'll get her back on our way. is. Nice. Eagle Lake up and comer here. She's just slide her a little closer. It's hard for me to see on the camera here how good my picture is, but she's a green fish, probably right at 40 inches, and we're gonna get her back because she's about to kick on me here. There she goes. Good, strong release, awesome fish. And let's actually go over that rod and reel setup because it's a little different one from the one I caught the fish on the other day. Okay, so we caught that fish on. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not. Try and run it real slow by there. This is a Tackle Industries 9-foot extra heavy. I wanted a 10-foot extra heavy. They were out of 10-footers, and that's my own fault because I didn't buy them during trade show season and they've been in high demand. These rods have become super popular this year. It's a company that's kind of rejuvenated itself and is really doing a nice job with their rods. When I first got them, I immediately messaged Jeff Contreras and I was like, these are way lighter than I was expecting, and it's been a great rod for me. I wanted a 10-footer because you get that extra reach in the 8, and luckily on this fish it wasn't an issue. She was hot enough, and especially when I sped up those blades to get her to go. But 10-foot rods will help you in the 8 all day, but we were able to get it done on the 9-footer. This will ultimately become more of a dedicated crankbait and Suick rod for me once I upgrade. But we're using a PC Fun Alios 400. It's kind of hard to see, the sun's not doing many favors right now while I'm spot locked. This reel is actually more of like a 450 compared to like a Tranx 400. It's slightly bigger than that, has a bigger spool size, and it cranks those blades like it's nothing. So the reason I went with the extra heavy on this is because I'm throwing these 8/9 staggers, and you can throw these 8/9 staggers on a medium heavy, but I like just a little bit more firmness in the rod tip through the 8 on these slightly larger blades. So that's why I went with this setup. Barbarian braid, 80-pound. Line on this, and cast good, caught that fish, no complaints up to this point. So that's kind of the setup at this point. Again, straight wire leader, welded ring. I like to throw glow beads on there because Levi and Victoria are newish musky anglers, and it just helps save the rod tip when they reel it in. If they crank it in a little bit too far, it gives you that added peace of mind. And we share rods in the boat, so they're willing and able to grab, you know, whatever rod they want when we're out here. So I do that as kind of a precautionary measure, but it also helps at night when you're night fishing to have that glow bead hit the rod tip versus your leader. So that's the setup. We're gonna get back to fishing. I'm actually gonna fish this spot out because the other side of it can be good at times too, but that was definitely the spot on the spot. So get back to fishing. We're gonna hit some wind blown stuff and more in the bag. It's the first real environmental change we've had, which is a good thing. Usually on Eagle Lake, when there's stable conditions, as soon as you get that change, those fish fire up, and clearly she was hot, and it's been a blade bite. So we're gonna keep after her, and hopefully we're checking back with another fish. So obviously a great fish. Didn't measure, but like I mentioned, I think she was probably in that low 40 range. She was smaller, or shorter, I should say, than the rest of them. Good build on her, female fish, just fun. It's fun when they want to dance in the 8 like that and, you know, get her to chase around. I would have preferred she ate in maybe a little bit of a different spot, but when I'm fishing solo, I like to have them eat in that corner because it's a very natural hook set for me with pushing on the rod, because I fish with a left-handed reel as a righty, pushing on the rod to set the hook and then kind of carry her through the oval. And I feel like I have better control over the fish when they eat on that side, which is why I almost always come into the 8 on the right side. But, you know, perfectly in the corner of the mouth, pop the hooks out. A great way to start the day, and then that kind of set the stage for what I do the rest of the day. And these next couple fish, one was a little bit of a deeper follow, but similar type structure, right? Underwater rocks, wind pushing on it, and it was just kind of what played out throughout the whole day. So we'll look at this one. When they fall and stay under the boat like that, they aren't gonna eat. So we're gonna move on from that fish. And maybe come back at a peak moon. She was probably a low 40s. Maybe we'll save her for Victoria and Levi. But right where she should be, right off the rock, off this point. Windswept, exactly where she should be. And then there's a slightly smaller fish that I actually ended up keeping the bait away from, and I wanted to save that fish from when Levi and Victoria get up here because it's on kind of a milk run that we do through one of the basins where we like to hit spot after spot after spot after spot on this milk run, and that's a good spot to stop. And that fish chased up, I think it was on the first cast if I remember correctly, and I like to play with those little ones in the 8 because it's just so fun to interact with them, and I don't need to catch that fish, so I'd prefer to save that for them, and hopefully that fish is still holding there when they show up in a couple days. They tend to be pretty territorial at times on Eagle Lake, so I think there's a good chance she'll be there, and if not, we'll find a different one. I'm not losing any sleep over that one. So let's watch this footage right now. And then the afternoon, things kind of died off. The wind was howling into spots, and I fished a lot of what I would define as more trophy structure, deeper rocks adjacent to 60 to 100 feet of water. Didn't have any luck, didn't move any fish off that stuff, and I haven't all week, and it's been really odd because last year there was a ton of fish on stuff like that. I think the flat calms got them pushed deep and lazy, and right now the biometrics are awful on the Musky Hunter app. So we spent the afternoon doing that, and then we had kind of a community fish fry. There's a couple of individuals or a group of people that like to catch fish and feed the whole group once a week, so that's what we did at dinner. I don't have any footage of that. I wanted to just mingle with people and not worry about the cameras, but then I went out at night and kind of grinded it out. The wind really died down, and I went back to a lot of that wind-blown trophy structure, and it was slow. And then I kind of fished a spot that I found earlier in the day that I fished through, and I thought this looks good, and it was kind of on my way home, so I hit it again. And the first or second cast, I have this fish following on top water, and this one, I don't know if I screwed up, she screwed up, what. Effectively, this fish was so hot on the Cannonball Junior. She came into the 8, I went into the first turn, she kicks, she lunges, I go to set the hook because I thought she had the back hooks kind of set to the side and back on her, and either she missed it or I set too prematurely. It's hard to tell in the footage. It was right at the end of legal fishing hours, and everything looks darker on the GoPro, obviously, and just couldn't make it happen. But you know, in theory, we could have had a 3-fish day today, so I will take that given the conditions that we've had up to this point. It gets so tough out here when things are bluebird, and you guys have heard me say this a million times. I feel like a damn broke record at this point, but it was a good way to end the day, and I think that fish will be active when Levi and Victoria come, so I'll probably leave that spot alone for the next few days and try and fish some more new stuff. I've been fishing a ton of new stuff and learning a ton about this lake and finding good cabbage and good rocks that I didn't know were there, and it's just been amazing. This solo week has been so therapeutic, and I've learned so much about this lake. I thought I had a pretty good handle on a lot of it before, and I've just learned a ton about it, and it's been a ton of fun. And I would encourage all of you to consider doing a trip like this, and I will definitely be doing this again next year. And the beauty of it too is, you know, Levi and Victoria are novice musky anglers, so I get to come up here, find some fish, figure out a pattern, hopefully that pattern sticks, and then they get to come up and kind of enjoy the fruits of that labor, and that's what I care about more than anything. Like, I've caught a bunch of muskies in my life, and I'd way rather see those two, catch them at the front of the boat, and I can be the net guy and kind of help correct form and all of that stuff. So looking forward to them getting up here, but for now, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this content. It means the world to me that you guys want to follow along on this journey, and hopefully these kind of just down-to-earth vlog style videos resonate with you and motivate you to maybe take a trip like this of your own. And if anybody has questions, like, leave a comment, message me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm always happy to help with the prep side of these trips and make recommendations on lodges. Like, Pine Beach is a great place to stay. I would recommend Pine Beach to anybody. Great for family. They have the sand beach out there if you have kids. I just love being here, and I hope all of you share a similar sentiment someplace, and if not, not. Hopefully you take a trip like this and can find that sentiment. But it's just been great. I couldn't be happier. Feel alive again, and I can't wait to get on the water tomorrow. So with that, I'm logging off here, and we'll catch you guys on the next spot.
Oops. Come on, you dipshit.